Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Gain, Grow, Retain. On today's installment, we've got Catherine Yagodnik from Monster Worldwide. We had the opportunity to meet Catherine through a mutual connection on LinkedIn and got to hear her story about 20 years or so at Monster and what she's been able to build within the customer success organization, really looking into data and some of the technology that can really enhance some of the customer interactions that are happening. So we had a really good time chatting with Catherine and learning more about what she's been able to build over her time. And really think you guys can leverage what she's talking about. So hopefully you enjoy.
Welcome to the Gain, Grow, Retain podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Gain, Grow, Retain. Today we've got Catherine Yagodnik from Monster Worldwide. She is a senior manager of customer success. So first of all, thanks for joining us today, and maybe give us a little blurb on just yourself, and then maybe give us a little blurb on Monster Worldwide, just to make sure we can orient ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for having me here today. Really excited to talk about one of my favorite subjects overall, which is customer success. A little bit about Monster. So if you're familiar with Monster Worldwide, we started out in 1994 with a dream in the middle of the night, which became the Monster Board. We're the 454th site on the internet. I have had the pleasure of being with Monster for 19 years of the 25 years that we have been in business. And I remember, back when I first started, that our competition, our top competitor was the newspaper. And I was teaching people how to set up an email address to post jobs online. So I know we've made a significant impact on the recruitment industry over the past 25 years. And I've really appreciated and had so much fun being a part of our overall story, and really excited about a lot of the things that we're doing now, specifically tied to how we can ensure our customers are deriving success from our solution. So thank you, Jeff, for having me.
Awesome. I like that stat that you guys were the 454th website. If you
can believe it. It's crazy.
I know. I wonder how many there is now. I'm curious to go look that stat up.
We'll have to do that. Me too.
Yeah. So, you mentioned, obviously, you've been at Monster for close to 19 years now. I think the company overall has been in business for about 25 years. So, customer success is a relatively new field, or at least in name, it's relatively new. So I'm curious, throughout those 19 years that you've been there, maybe talk about how customer success came to exist and how you guys thought about kind of needing that department or needing that function within the organization, or even the mindset to really bring that in and start thinking about the customers and the outcomes they're looking to achieve, and really how customer success was born at Monster.
Yeah, so, focusing on our customers and being successful is something that has always been really important to us. But I think when you take a look at companies in general and having different factions of the business that have been born just out of the way business has, changed over, the past 25 years, I would say that we realized, with the healthy amount of competition that we have in the different places that our customers can go to find the talent, that we had to take a more proactive approach in how we were guiding our customers to a successful solution. And so really to tackle churn, to ensure that we were maximizing our sales reps' time. And in addition to that, driving revenue, we had to think about how we were going to do things differently. And being proactive is key. Understanding how our customers are utilizing our products is key, which is why we've done a lot to take a look at our product health and customer usage. And thus, really overarching, just trying to tackle churn, maintain the customer and the business that we have is really what this stems from. Yeah.
So when you think about, I think you just mentioned a little bit, obviously, about becoming proactive with the customer success team. You mentioned, you guys utilizing a lot around the product data and outcomes. You also mentioned, looking at kind of revenue driving or kind of increased revenue. So, has that shifted over time as well since you guys have established customer success? I guess, have you kind of seen the evolution of that team and maybe the metric that they're trying to impact most?
So when we take a look at customer success, and specifically who I work with hand in hand is our sales team. And so when we first started this whole process of, we really started it within our small business segment. And at that time, we had our small business segment inheriting, all the business that was coming in through our e-commerce platform. So it's not business that they directly influence on what type of solution a customer should purchase. In addition to that, they were, healthily growing and selling their own solutions to their customers. And so when we take a look at our sales reps having to engage, and I think their territories were roughly thousands of accounts, we realized that we had to tackle things differently, prioritize our reps book for them, and look at how we can engage with our customers in a meaningful way that they wanted to be communicated with. And so hence we created cohorts. And then what we've seen with that is successfully being able to increase our retention rates as a result of really building out this whole customer success, I would say, at scale for our sales team. Because we have two different types of factions of how we run customer success. We have our sales teams that are participating in us going after our customers proactively. And then we have an extra layer of our customer success that works with more of our high touch customers. And so where I'm working with is, trying to drive customer success, proactive conversations at scale for our sales team.
That's great. The way, and I like the way you put this too, is you guys really focused on almost like a bottoms up approach. So how do we start thinking about scaling first? And I think a lot of people think about it maybe the opposite way. I think a lot of people have high touch and then they are trying to push that down. And so it sounds like you had high touch, but at least from a technology standpoint, and maybe the kind of where your focus is from your position, was you actually focused on the low touch. And so I think maybe that shift, or I'm curious if if this just happened inherently, but did you have to think about maybe technology first when you're thinking about the scale of what you needed to do? Like you didn't really have the ability to think about high touch models even at that low segment, so that it really wasn't an option for you right off the bat.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we knew that we would have to turn to automation to be able to do this at scale. And so that was one of the things when we took a look at how our reps were spending their time, how we were going to help prioritize the way that they were going to be able to run their business and maximize, ensuring they were talking to customers at the right time. We absolutely had to ensure that we looked at automation because when you have thousands of customers and you want to do things consistently, it's really hard to just depend on your sales reps to run with that. And they've got selling to do and many other things that we expect of them.
So when you think about the low touch segment, and I think you mentioned a couple of things just about having thousands of accounts down there, potentially needing ways to prioritize. What was kind of the first step, I guess, you took into understanding that segment and really figuring out how you needed to potentially build out what your program looked like?
Well, I mean, I did a lot of research just around what other companies are doing to, see what would be the best way for us to approach this. I think that low touch can mean a lot of things to a lot of different companies. So when you take a look at low touch, customers may fit into this category as a result of annual spend, employee size. They could be based on the customer success potential. So what happens is with this low touch, and especially what we were experiencing, because there was a high multitude of accounts, it becomes for a sales rep, I'll get to it when I can, which usually means that opportunity is overlooked. And so when we took a look at low touch, we wanted to say, how can we utilize automation to be low touch no longer? And how can we convert into a tech touch and be able to get in touch with our customers, both in a way that they would like us to communicate with them. I don't think all of these thousands of customers wanted a phone call from us. Every 30 days, a lot of our customers, specifically in our small business space, don't have a hiring need more than once or twice a year. And so we wanted to ensure, again, how can we utilize automation to put the right type of content in front of the right customer in the right time, where we looked at both doing proactive engagement campaigns as well as taking over all of our rep-driven content that was being sent out.
So you've gone and done some research, you've started to identify what you really need to hone in on for that segment, right? Kind of understanding the engagement model that you might need. I really like the way you talked about content delivery as well. I think we have started to see that more and more in customer success, and having almost somebody that is focused on customer marketing, and whether they live in marketing or customer success. I think we've seen it both ways, but I like the way you talked about that. So you kind of identify what you need to do. How did you go think about the technology aspect to bring into the fold? Was it, did you guys have systems that you could already use internally and you tried that first? Or was it pretty early on that you just said, hey, I've seen that customer success in the technology space for customer success is maturing and there's products out there that we can use. Curious how you went about that process.
Yeah, so great question. I would say that, we utilize Salesforce, as many companies do. And from a customer success perspective, we had tried to put together a propensity model to provide our sales reps with prioritization of accounts. And we found it to be not beneficial just because it was an account by account sort of review. And we weren't able to necessarily put customer usage and, Salesforce for us is a fantastic system of record, but we just ran into a lot of challenges trying to utilize that particular platform to take it up a notch in terms of not only prioritization for our sales rep, but also customer engagement, especially at the usage level. But in addition to that, prior to my role of taking on customer success, I was in charge of doing all of our e-commerce promotions. So when it came to us wanting to go to our sales reps and say, hey, this is the type of promotion that we're running on the site. Here's an OST, knock yourselves out and have fun doing a mass mailing with that. What we wanted to do, so besides just being able to do proactive engagement campaigns, is we wanted to be able to take over all of the communications that we were sending out from the reps and take over the marketing duties that they were doing themselves. And of course, work hand in hand with our marketing department. They tackle our overall larger marketing message. But from a rep perspective, when you're trying to get out to your customers, you have two ways of doing that, two primary ways, I should say, which is calling and emailing. And so thus we found that just expecting our sales reps to take care of their own marketing was not, able to give us a consistent cadence, consistent messaging, consistent metrics to be able to look at if the offers we were sending out or any type of the goodwill, the thought leadership emails we were sending out were resonating with our customers. And so thus we realized, and by the way, we use Tatango. This is a little bit of a different use than I believe most customers utilize Tatango for, but we found inherent major value in the fact that we could take over all of our rep-driven marketing with some of their campaign technology. And so that was another thing that we wanted to tackle in terms of trying to, take on customer success at scale.
That's a really interesting use case. And I think we continue to see that customer marketing, current customer marketing, especially if there is, we'll say an upsell potential or there's opportunity there for, expansion within that account, starts to become kind of a crazy mix. We were, just talking about it with a client the other day, how they've got Salesforce, they have a marketing tool, they also have a customer success tool. And right now there's no kind of coordination between the systems to understand like who should be sending what to a customer at what point in time. And so I think that's really interesting that you went in and started to try and tackle that question, because again, I think it's largely forgotten in some cases. I think it's becoming more important now, but a lot of times your marketing team is really focused on, our outward facing brand, how we're thinking about potentially landing opportunities.
Exactly. Yeah.
About the funnel, and they're really aligned with the sales team. And so a current customer or, when there's an upsell opportunity, it may get kind of put on the back burner. And so I do like the way that you've kind of run in there and from a customer success perspective said, hey, this is really important for us to drive proactivity to make sure we're identifying opportunities. And so how can we kind of help quarterback or coordinate if it's a current customer, we need to be communicating that with them in a specific way. We want to make that consistent. So how did you really get buy-in, from the sales and marketing teams across that spectrum? Was that a tough process, or did you think about
it was a tough process?
Did you think about forming a community of some sort, or how did you go about that?
So again, it was just born out of a passion for trying to bring, maximize our rep selling time, understanding that when you have so many accounts that you're trying to manage, how can we give them more time back in their day? But in addition to that, how can we continue to keep Monster top of mind? And so it's really hard to rely on our sales reps just trying to do these mass communications, be able to keep tabs on the type of communications that they were sending out. So it was a little bit of a leap of faith for our sales team because, like I mentioned, there's only so many ways they can stay out in front of their customers. But we wanted to stay in front of our customers smart. just continuing to send out, messaging to our customers that was a one-size-fits-all was just not working. And in addition to that, we didn't know when and if reps were participating in sending out the communications that may or may not have been asked of them. And then they were doing a fantastic job of trying to think of their own marketing subject matter, on their own. And so trying to bring that all together, like I said, having the sales team, the sales leadership trust us to be able to do this on their behalf was a huge hurdle to overcome. But I think what's great is a year later, a rep was just talking to me about how they remember this hurdle and how hard it was to initially get buy-in, but how they could never see it any other way. Because we've been able to do such great things for them in terms of, driving revenue, ensuring that we're driving credibility for them with the thought leadership or messaging that we're able to put out for them, that we are able to, keep Monster consistently top of mind for those customers that may or may not have a need right at this point. And so I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish here. And in addition to that, we have fantastic partners on the marketing side that we work hand in hand on a weekly basis, ensuring how are we going to quarterback the different messaging, because what Tatango provides for us is a really robust segmentation engine that allows us to segment our customers based on, past spend, based on past products that they've purchased, based on what type of usage and or hopefully success they've had with some of our products based on the health that we've assigned. So it's really allowed for us to go deeper and wider with our customers in a more personalized message on behalf of our sales team.
Man, you took the question right out, and I love that you answered it because I was going to ask around how you thought about segmentation and some of those factors. So it really sounds like you've used some current ARR markers. You've thought about some of the products that they might have, for potential kind of cross-sell opportunities there. Also what they've probably bought, so upsell or expansion, and account health. So when you think about the engagement model, you kind of mentioned this is low touch and or what you guys consider low touch, and you've got mainly it sounds like a sales staff that's looking for those upsell and cross-sell opportunities or kind of farming those accounts. So have you largely been able to get away with not having a specific customer success person down in that category, or do you kind of overlay some of the human assets down there as well with some of the kind of automation and tech that you guys have?
Yeah, we absolutely do ensure that we weave in some one-to-one touch by our sales reps, depending on the type of scenario. So we have what are called success plays, that we will take any of the data that we're seeing. So let's say we've got a brand new customer to Monster. We want to ensure that they understand how to write a job posting, that they understand what type of competition they're up against within their particular job market to find the same type of talent. That's something that you can't necessarily, that expertise can get just from posting your position anywhere. And so yes, that's just an example of how we try to weave in ensuring that our reps are mindful of these newer customers, that they understand how to best get or how to get the best results. And then, we've got other ways that we weave in, customers aren't utilizing our product. Not only are we able to go and get in front of our customers with a proactive engagement email asking them to come back and utilize our services, but we also have, ways that we're serving up to our sales reps of, hey, you need to pay attention to this. We want to make sure that we're engaging them because it's the end goal is to retain them, and hopefully if they're finding success, make it a really easy way for them to cross-sell or upsell the customer into an additional solution.
That's great. How, so you mentioned, you've got segment that you guys have with the sales staff, and you've built in some of these automation within Tatango. Yeah. Is there even a segment that you guys consider below that where you kind of just have the technology working, or is that what you guys consider in that is kind of weaving in those human interactions when there is kind of hand raised type moments?
So I'd say right now we are still weaving in the human interaction. We want to make sure, again, that the customer is fully apprised, especially our new customers, on what Monster has to offer. And not only that, but just that they are successful in their initial purchase with us. While I foresee in the future, we could probably leverage and go down that path of even better increased automation. Again, depending on many types of factors of spend or employee size or whatnot, self-serve. But right now we've got this tech touch cohort. Then we've got our hybrid cohort, which is, kind of a mix of ensuring that we've got even more, hand holding by the reps. And then we've got our high touch, which is the white glove treatment. And then where some of our customer success overlay. So for right now, again, still dabbling with having both the human and automated touch, but never know in the future where we could go.
Yeah.
There's plenty of possibility.
And I like the way you mentioned this earlier. You were talking about, developing potentially cohorts. So have you guys adapted kind of a test and iterate type of mentality as you've gone down this path of bringing in technology and thinking about this, whether in those initial stages, did you have specific cohorts that you were trying this on and you would measure results and then kind of iterate from there? I'm just curious how you maybe continue to think about just the different ways that you could deploy what you guys have ended up doing and how you might have thought about that from a program perspective.
Yes, I would say a key term at Monster is being agile and iterating all the time. So I would say what our model looked like back when I started this 2.5 years ago, it looks very different and similar because we've also taken the Tatango platform and expanded it, not just to our small business teams, but to our major teams that focus on mid-market. And so with all that has come major iterations. And I don't think it's something you always have to evolve, albeit the segments that you're targeting and or the health that you're modeling to ensure that, customers at the end of the day, we have the right health that are, a good indicator of if they will continue to do business with us or not. There's so many things that you have to stay up and change. And fortunately, there's so much great literature out there to continue to read up on. That, we've been able to continue to weave some great examples from other organizations, into our process and look forward to doing that in the future.
Again, you've kind of seen it all at Monster. You've been there for 19 years. You've kind of taken on this customer success role and really helped develop the kind of automation and technology that you guys are using down in this space. So maybe what are some of the maybe 2 to 3 challenges that you feel like you kind of had to go through or that you experienced that you might be able to give some perspective on just in kind of getting this whole thing stood up within the organization?
Yeah, I think it's really important when you have customer success and you're starting down that path that you have support both from the executive level and then also from the floor, the feet on the street. It's definitely a mindset change in terms of starting to look towards running your business on a more proactive approach as opposed to reactive. I would say change management is hard, trying to every single day champion why we have to work with our customers differently to ensure that they stay with us is something that we've always have to work through. Like you mentioned, in terms of you have to be nimble. Business changes all the time. We have different priorities that change. And so with any technology that you have, it's great specifically with the technology we have with Tatango that we can flip things on the dime if we need to without a lot of internal approvals to do so, which is fantastic. We can either start up initiatives based on everyone agreeing to it and or stop one. Depending on where we are at within the business. I think those are free, and I think I could just keep going on here, Jeff.
Yeah, you've probably got a ton of learnings. So, kind of keeping the similar mindset, kind of talk through some challenges. You mentioned making sure we've got, executive sponsorship and even just sponsorship down, probably from a tactical level to make sure, you can get a couple of champions down there who can, help the first cohort.
Absolutely.
Test
Yep.
whatever you get. You mentioned obviously thinking about the technology piece and where that fits in. So maybe on the flip side, what, if you were to think about just some of the, maybe what are some of the areas that helped maybe grease the skids, whether, were there things internally that were already pointing this direction? Were there things that you felt like just internally at the organization really just set you up for success, even from kind of day one as you started to take on this program?
I think personally what set me up for success in terms of trying to tackle this was just having multiple perspectives of different parts of our organization. So being able to have worked in sales and sales leadership, worked very closely with product, with marketing over the years, with sales operations, and you name it, having multiple opportunities to learn what the different things are important to the different parts of the business uniquely positioned me to try to take on this challenge because it's a big one. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different people that you have to influence to help understand why championing customer health, championing taking our data, our disparate data that's all over the place and driving action at scale. So I think that helps. That's one, answer to your question of how personally. And then I think as a customer or as an organization, again, we know that we've got many different things that we're working on, many different internal challenges we have. Hey, what organization doesn't? But we knew if we were going to be able to tackle churn and continue to drive repeat revenue, and ultimately maximize our reps' time, that we had to do something different. And those are just a couple things. I'm sure if you were talking to, some of my executives, there's multiple priorities and things and work streams that we're championing. But I know for me personally, proactive is the name of the game. Understanding customer usage and capitalizing on that and making sure that our customers are successful, not just happy, was really important to me. And so I wanted to be able to bring that to Monster and help champion change.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would say we oftentimes say that subscription businesses are the ultimate team sport because you can't just change one thing without affecting the other. If the sales team starts selling differently, that's going to have downstream effects. If the product designs something different, right, it kind of changes what the sales and marketing team might be doing.
Absolutely.
So I like the way you said that though, and having, especially within customer success and some of the leaders I think we've seen and really admired, and somebody like yourself, just in hearing you talk right now, is just the fact that, you really need to start championing this across the organization. And you really have to come in every day with that change management mindset of, hey, this is why we're doing this. This is the almost the charter or why this is important to the business, and really continue to harp on that like every day you walk into the doors, because ultimately, the thing that you're doing in customer success, especially with the technology and the automation, you're affecting a lot of, across the organization, the sales team, potentially what the marketing team is doing, what your customer success team is doing. So you really need to make sure and build that kind of champion inside and have the mentality. So I like the way you put that towards the end.
You do, Jeff, and I can't tell you how exciting it is when that light bulb finally goes off and people really start understanding, especially with the sales team, because when you've got people that have been here a long time and having to take a different mindset of how they're going to run their business differently, and just seeing the light bulb go off and then really seeing how they're going to be able to affect change just with their customers and their territory and for their team is really the most delightful thing for me to see on a daily basis. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all the time today. This has been fun. I know this was long overdue for us to get on the phone and talk through some of these things, but I think what you've been able to accomplish in the, bringing in some of the technology and automation and, really thinking through how do you start weaving in the right kind of human connection moments at the right time, thinking about those hand raiser type moments as we always put them. But this has been fun for us to learn a little bit about what you've done. So appreciate the time. We'll get a chance to talk again soon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the Gain, Grow, Retain podcast. If you liked what you heard, please take a moment and share the podcast with your friends and colleagues and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Talk to you soon.